Hi, this is PD at BurgZerg Arcade at BurgZergArcade.com, and today's tutorial will be number 40. Now let's go ahead and open up Unity as well as model development. And we're just going to continue commenting. I believe we're up to ModifiedStat, correct? But there's something I wanted to do. I wanted to go back to these other stats before we get too far in. And I wanted to start adding just a little bit of debugging into these as well. Now with C# you usually have these console write lines or print statements, but I want to use the console in Unity, so I want to use the Debug.Log statements. And there's a couple ways we can do it. If you're going to be adding a lot of Debug.Log statements in, the easiest way would be just to come up to the top and add the using statement. So using Unity Engine, and that would be all you'd have to do. And then you can come down to say, let's take the constructor, and we'll say Debug.Log, and put whatever you want in there. So I'm going to say base stat created, and we'll just save that off. Let's go into Unity, fire it up, then I'll shut it down, take a look at our console. And I'm just going to append my console up here for now, since we're not going to be doing anything up there for a bit. If we scroll to the top of it, you'll see base stat created, and there should be a number of these equal to the number of stats you have. Oh, plus your vitals, plus your skills as well, because they all originally inherit from base stat. But what if you didn't want to have the Unity statement up here, or the using statement up there? You can just append it onto your command over here. So you would just use Unity, if I spell it right, Unity Engine dot debug. That'll work as well. So we'll fire it back up. Well, we'll clear that off just so you know there's no magic going on. Fire it off. When we stop it, we'll go look at the top again, and there you go. Now while we're looking at the Debug.Log statement, let's also take a second to look at the Debug.LogWarning and Debug.LogError. Now all three pretty much function the exact same. They take a string and they output it to our console, but they do it just a little bit different. Now you'll notice with the Debug.Warning, you get this little yellow yield sign. So it stands out a little bit more than your regular Debug.Log statement, which has this little exclamation mark. And then the Debug.LogError is a little red stop sign with an exclamation mark. So right there. So you actually have three different ways to output stuff to your console, and you can mix and match the colors however you want. I generally use Debug.Log just for outputting simple statements and like when constructors are created and stuff like that. Then my warnings are for when stuff happens in game that's unexpected but doesn't, crash the game. And then my log errors are usually stuff that went wrong that it couldn't recover from. Now I'm going to go ahead to the attributes class. And I'm going to add the Debug.Log statement here as well. But I'm going to change it to attribute created. Then if we start it up again, then go look at the console, you notice it's base stat created, attribute created, base stat created, attribute created. Now I don't want to go too much in depth on it, but basically the way it works is every time it tries to create an attribute, it has to create whatever it's inherited from first. So it's going to create this base stat first. So it's going to run all this code in here first, and then it's going to run all the code in here. And that's just the way it works with inheriting stuff. Now if you had a bigger chain of stuff, like let's say vitals for instance, when we go to create a vital, it has to create a modified stat. So it's going to come to modified stat. Then it's going to go, oh wait, I inherit from base stat, so before it even creates stat, it's going to go to base stat. Then it's going to go, oh, I'm not inheriting from anything, so I'll create my base stat. So this code runs. Unless I do that, of course. And then it's going to come back, and then it's going to create the modified stat. So it's going to run this, and then it'll come back, and then it'll create vitals, and then it'll run this here. But let's just get back to our modified stat commenting. So I'm going to come up to the top here. I'm going to comment this first. Generic was added so we can use the lists, which is referring to this here. So I'll go up above it, add my summary. So the name of the class, which is ModifiedStat, .cs, the date, it's September 9th here, and my name, and a description. So this is the base class for all stats that will be modifiable. Sure. By attributes. So we'll come in here. We already have our list commented and our mod value, it's commented. So let's comment the constructor. There's nothing there I want to change, but I am going to add a debug statement here. And of course I'll change the base stat to modified stat. We'll comment this one next. So all we're doing actually in the modified stat was we're setting the mods, which is our list up here, to be a new list. And it can only hold modifying attributes. So you can't pass anything else into it. And then of course we set our mod value to equal 0. That's what we want to start at. So we'll look at our add modifier, and all this is doing is just adding a modifying attribute which we're passing in called mod, and we're just adding it to our list. So we'll notice here the param mod. So I'm just going to change just a bit, be a little bit more descriptive. Add a modifying attribute to our list of mods for the stat. I guess for this modified stat. So the next one, calculate value. Okay, if we calculate value, all we're doing is we're setting the mod value to equal 0 just to make sure that it's equal to 0 in case it got set somewhere else. Then we're going to take a look to see if in our list, if we have at least one modifying attribute stored in there. And if we do, then we're just going to simply iterate through all of our modifying attributes that is in our list. And we're going to go and take the value, the adjusted base value of our attribute, multiply it by the ratio that we set when we created the modifying attribute, cast it to an int, and then not only store it in mod value, but add it to the mod value. So we're just going to say reset mod value to 0. Then we're going to check to see if we have at least one modifying attribute. Man, my finger likes that V. In our list of mods. If we do, then iterate through, through the list and add the adjusted base value multiplied by the ratio to our mod value.